In this episode, I want to create a star field. This is going to be a black screen with many white dots that are going to be moving from right border to left border. And when they disappear on the left, then they will jump again to the right and continue moving like this. So let's begin doing just one star without any arrays. And then we will see how we can create a bunch of stars using arrays. I'm going to start by saving the project, just a reminder of how to save. And I choose the folder and I'm gonna call this star field. Just save. So now the project is saved and we can start here. I'm going to declare an X and a Y variable which will hold the position of our star. And I will also declare another variable called speed. So later we can have stars that go in at different speeds. And I have here my setup function where I will define some things like the background color. I will make it black. And I will set the line color to be white, 255. And first of all, I will set the size of the screen, size 500, 400. Then I'm going to specify where's this little star initially. So I'm going to say X is random of the width of the screen. So let's have a random position between 0 and the width. If you prefer it, if it's easier for you, you can add a 0 here, which is exactly the same. You're going to get a random number between 0 and the width. And I will do the same with the Y, random 0, height. And what about the speed? Speed is going to be random between 1 and 5. So we can move something between 1 and 5 pixels on each frame. And then we are going to create our draw function. We will start by erasing the screen, background 0. So we have to redraw all of our objects each time. And then I'm going to draw here a point at X, Y. This is our star. And now I should move the star a little bit to the left. So I'm going to say X equals X minus speed. And I have to check if I got out of the screen. So if X is less than 0, then we can jump to the opposite border. So then X is going to be equal to the width. Let's see if this is working. Yeah, there's our little star here. It's very small, so I'm gonna change the stroke weight. I'm gonna make it 5, so it's easier to see in this video. So now it's more obvious. There it is, cycling from right to left and back. So now what would happen if we want 100 stars? Imagine if we don't use an array, this would be a lot of work because we need 3 lines to declare just the variables that hold the position and the speed of the star. So we will need 100 times 3 lines. I guess we would call them something like x0, y0, speed 0, and then x1, y1, speed 1, and so on until we got to 99. And this is just these 3 lines. Then we would have to repeat again these 3 lines 100 times to set some random positions for the stars and random speeds. Then we would repeat this line 100 times to draw the points on the screen, and the same with these 4 to change the position of the star and check if it's out of the screen. Of course, we're not gonna do all that. What we're gonna do is we're gonna define some arrays. So we're gonna convert these variables into arrays. I'm just adding here square brackets behind this float. Float is the type of the variable. The square brackets mean this is now an array. And we have to do something new here. We have to define how large is our array. How many elements does it contain? So I'm gonna say this is equal to, I type here new, and then I say float, and square brackets, and inside the square brackets I have to say how many elements. So I want 100. Here I'm declaring a float array, so y is an array, and I make this equal to new float, and inside square brackets 100. The way we did this in the previous episodes was using here curly braces and then defining here some specific elements. But today we don't want to specify any specific elements here. We just want to reserve the space for 100 elements. We don't want to say which elements they are exactly. And here the same again, new float square brackets 100. We are going to define later what are the specific values there. And we are going to do this here calling random. To avoid repeating these 3 lines 100 times, I'm just going to make a loop. I'm going to say, define here an int variable, int I equals 0. And I'm going to make a while loop, while I is less than 100. Then repeat something. And I'm going to repeat these 3 lines here. And I'm going to close the curly braces. Never forget to add inside the loop some instructions to increase this value, or something that will make this condition here false at some point. If I don't increase y is forever 0, and it will never be over 100, and then the computer will start running really slow. So you better add this thing here. My x variable now is an array. So I have to specify with the square brackets which x exactly I mean here. Before I could say just x, now I have to say x and which element. The element is going to be first 0, then 1, then 2, then 3. This way I'm going to assign some random value for each x. And same thing for my y. So it's y square brackets of I. And same thing for the speed. Okay, so it's a bit more complicated than before, but it's not hundreds of lines. I'm just making a loop, and in this loop I'm assigning some random values for each element of x, of y, and of speed. Okay, that part is ready. So now finally I'm going to have to draw these 100 points, and I'm going to have to move them and check if they are inside the screen. So I'm just gonna have to repeat the same thing. I'm gonna declare here an I variable, int I is 0. And I will say while I is less than 100, open curly braces. I'm going to do all these things. I'm going to draw the point. I'm going to move the point. I'm going to check the point. And finally, I close these curly braces. Again, I don't forget to add these I equals I plus 1. And now these variables are arrays, so I have to use here the square brackets. X of I, y of I. Same thing all here. Looks a bit long. I can copy this. Open square brackets I and close them. So same thing for I, for speed. Here for the x. If this specific x is less than 0, then make this x equal to the width of the screen. And that's it. What happens now? Let's run our program. And there is our star field. Notice how some stars move faster than others. When each star is created, if we can say that, it's assigning a random position on the screen and a random speed. The speed never changes. And also the y value never changes. The only thing that changes is the x value here. Here we are moving the star to the left. The other 2 variables, the y and the speed, stay the same. And if we reach the left border, then make it jump to the right border. And that's it. That's our simple star field program.